The holographic seal of the Galactic Council flickered above the conference table as Ambassador Velthar of the Kryn Sovereignty delivered humanity's sentence. His crystalline exoskeleton refracted the cold light of distant stars visible through the station's viewport. "The Council has reached its verdict," Velthar announced, his translator rendering his chittering language into sterile galactic standard. "Humanity is hereby exiled from Council space. Your species has 30 cycles to vacate all registered territories." Lisa Chen stood motionless at the human delegation's position, her knuckles white against the edge of the table. Beside her, Max Rivera's jaw clenched so hard she could hear his teeth grinding. Around them, representatives from 47 species watched with expressions ranging from pity to smug satisfaction. "On what grounds?" Lisa demanded, her voice cutting through the chamber's artificial atmosphere. "Aggressive expansion, excessive resource consumption, failure to adhere to the doctrine of harmonious coexistence." Velthar rattled off the charges with bureaucratic precision. "Your species has existed in Council space for merely 2 centuries, yet you have established colonies on 73 worlds. The Kryn required 4 millennia to achieve similar spread." "We asked permission for every colony," Max interjected. "We followed every protocol. And that is precisely the problem." This came from Counselor Zhirek, a floating gas entity from the Nebula territories. Her translated voice carried an edge of fear. "You expand too quickly. You adapt too rapidly. You refuse to accept natural limitations." Lisa felt the weight of 47 species' judgment pressing down on her shoulders. She had spent 15 years building diplomatic bridges, learning alien customs, negotiating trade agreements. And now, with a single vote, it was all ashes. "You're not exiling us because we broke your laws," she said quietly. "You're exiling us because we frighten you." The chamber erupted in overlapping protests and denials, but Velthar raised a crystalline appendage for silence. "The decision is final. You have 30 cycles." 28 cycles later, the human exodus was nearly complete. The Galactic Council watched with satisfaction as humanity's colonies went dark one by one, their populations supposedly retreating to Earth and the Sol system. The Council congratulated itself on containing a potential threat before it grew unmanageable. They never noticed the inconsistencies in the withdrawal reports. They never questioned why human ships traveled to Sol by such circuitous routes. They never wondered why Earth's orbital traffic seemed strangely light, for a species supposedly cramming billions of returning colonists onto their homeworld. Lisa stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, one of 300 colony ships that officially didn't exist. Around her, holographic displays showed the positions of humanity's secret fleet, scattered across uncharted regions of space that the Council had deemed uninhabitable or resource deficient. "Status report," she ordered. Max looked up from the navigation console, a slight smile playing at his lips. "Colony ship groups Alpha through Tau have all reached their designated systems. Initial surveys confirm what our scouts reported. The worlds are harsh but survivable." "Harsh by Council standards," Lisa corrected. "They think a planet with seasonal variations is uninhabitable. They consider a world without naturally occurring water sources to be worthless." She shook her head in disbelief. "They evolved on paradise worlds and never learned to struggle." Over the next 5 years, humanity did what it had always done best. It adapted. The Council's uninhabitable worlds became thriving colonies. Planets with toxic atmospheres were terraformed using techniques the Council had never imagined. Worlds with extreme temperatures were settled using technology born from humanity's own harsh evolutionary cradle. On a frozen world designated refuge, colonists used geothermal energy to create underground cities that rivaled anything in Council space. On the desert planet Perseverance, moisture farmers extracted water from the air with impossible efficiency. On high-gravity Olympus, children grew up strong enough to crush Kryn exoskeletons with their bare hands. And through it all, humanity maintained complete communication silence with Council space. To the Galactic Council, humanity had simply vanished, presumably dying slowly in their quarantined solar system. 15 years after the exile, the Kryn Sovereignty found itself at war with the Vex Collective, a rival power that had always coveted Kryn territory. The conflict spread rapidly, and within months half the Council species were choosing sides or trying desperately to remain neutral. That's when the human ships appeared. They emerged from the void in overwhelming numbers, their hulls bearing no Council registry codes, their technology unlike anything in known space. They swept through the war zones with surgical precision, destroying military targets while scrupulously avoiding civilian casualties. Ambassador Velthar found himself facing Lisa Chen once again, this time aboard a human vessel that made Council dreadnoughts look like children's toys. You were supposed to be contained," he stammered, his translator barely keeping up with his distressed chittering. "Exiled. Your species should have been struggling to survive." Lisa's expression was unreadable. "You exiled us to die. You thought we couldn't survive without the Council's carefully regulated Garden of Paradise worlds." She gestured to the view screen, where human ships coordinated with impossible efficiency. "You forgot that humanity evolved on a death world. Earth tried to kill us for millions of years with diseases, predators, ice ages, and volcanic eruptions. And we thrived anyway. What do you want?" Velthar asked, his crystalline body dimming with defeat. "We're stopping this war," Max said from his position at the tactical console. "The Vex Collective is surrendering as we speak. The Kryn sovereignty will stand down or we'll make you stand down." "And then?" Velthar whispered. Lisa leaned forward, her eyes hard as starlight. "And then you're going to call an emergency session of the Galactic Council. You're going to amend that precious doctrine of yours, and you're going to understand something fundamental about humanity." She paused, letting her words sink in. "We don't need your permission to exist. We don't require your approval to expand, and we will never ever let you exile us again." "You're taking over the Council," Velthar said, the realization dawning with horror. "No," Lisa corrected. "We're saving it from itself. Your Council was built by species that never had to fight for survival. You created a civilization of eternal comfort, and it made you weak, complacent, unable to handle real threats." She stood, her posture radiating quiet authority. "Humanity will join the Council as equals, and we'll teach you what we learned on our death world, that the universe doesn't owe you survival. You have to earn it." The holographic seal of the Galactic Council would soon bear a new symbol alongside the 47 others. A small blue world that had birthed a species too stubborn to die, too adaptable to contain, and too determined to let anyone decide their fate but themselves. Humanity had been exiled to the darkness, and in that darkness they had forged an empire,